Are your ulcerative colitis symptoms proving difficult to manage? Tremfya guselkumab can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. At 1 year, many patients taking Tremfya achieved clinical remission, and some patients also achieved endoscopic remission. Individual results may vary. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor if Tremfya can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
You've maxed out your 401k, you're contributing to an IRA, and making some other investments. You're ahead of the game and doing well. But where do you go from here? The same old story can only get you so far. If you want a new take from a new type of financial professional, we invite you to get a fresh perspective beside an agent with the backing of New York Life. Insurance, investments, retirement, and more. Visit nyl.com to learn more. Investments are offered through registered representatives of NyLife Securities, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC, a New York Life company.
Achtung.Millwall podcast supports the Lions Food Hub, dear listeners, and you can do too by getting yourself an Achtung.Millwall t-shirt from noonelikes.co.uk, also known as Nolu Clothing. They've got a wonderful Achtung.Millwall t-shirt on there for £15. At least £8 of each sale goes to support the Lions Food Hub, which does fantastic work for families in and around the South East 16 area. Show your allegiances on the podcast front, dear listeners, by getting yourself an Achtung.Millwall t-shirt, and by doing that, you'll support the wonderful, the brilliant Lions Food Hub. Noonelikes.co.uk, Achtung.Millwall t-shirt, £15. Check it out.
You're listening to Achtung Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Birmingham. Accept no substitute.
Hello dear listeners, welcome to a beautiful sunny afternoon just here in South Bermondsey. My name is Nick Hart, you're listening to Achtung Millwall, number one Millwall podcast. You join me of course for the visit of Stoke City in the Championship. The Lions come into today's game in 13th position, just 9 games now to go. I think probably we've given ourselves a touch too much to do to reach those prize top 6 playoffs, but there we are. Alex Neil has moved into an experimental phase, dear listeners. It's gone a bit like Kraftwerk, early Kraftwerk. He's gone for a 2-man attacking line up front. Anyway, Lions this afternoon, Lucas Jensen in goal, back line as per usual, Tristan Kramer, Jake Cooper, Jeff Tanganga and Joe Bryan. In front of them, Billy Mitch and Gasp. Now I'm going to imagine Bangura Williams and Imarku will sit in front of them, I don't know, and then up front Ivanovic and Coburn in a radical 2-man attacking line. It's got to take your hat off the man. He's certainly trying out new ways and new approaches. Stoke City come here in 19th position, listeners, 39 points. They will want a result today. They're 4 points above Derby in the 3rd relegation spot, so we can at least lean back in the comfort of the beautiful sunny afternoon, safe in the knowledge that we're far removed from all that old tosh. It's Groupon Day, listeners, by the way, Groupon Day. I am there surrounded by scarves and I've done a lot of business in the club shop, I'm sure, but we have a lot of newbies in the Block 1 this afternoon, all wearing their scarves and regalia, all looking at me because I'm talking to myself, but for your pleasure. Alex Neil speaking after that 2-0 defeat up there at Ellen Road in the week. Described the nature of the first goal as very frustrating, and it was really bad luck and a touch of poor defending, I suppose you could have thrown into it. But he says from there the lads brushed it off, and I thought they did for a large part of that game. I thought we contained Leeds quite well, but they were always going to get more goals. They're just that kind of fixture. So let's hope we see a better performance this afternoon from Mill. A bit more attacking zeal. We didn't really have a shot on goal in Leeds, so we want to see some more action, time and vision this afternoon, listeners. And two-man attacking lineup, we hope, will give us that. Contrary to the venerable teachings, Stoke said he must have won the toss and have opted to attack the away end in the first half, listeners. This breaks every dictum set down in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle by the great man himself, old Archbishop Bede. So we're going to be attacking the cold blow in the first half. Always itchy and scratchy when that happens, but there we are. Stoke in their familiar red and white stripes, the lines of course in dark blue and white. Away we go. Early rendition for the It Should Have Been More song. The club did send out an email yesterday asking fans to be aware that this is on Sky Television this afternoon. The eyes of the world are upon this game, which put me in mind of images of tribesmen in Borneo, the Mato Grosso in Brazil, Wagga Wagga in Australia, settling down in front of their flickering TV sets, watching Millwall play Stoke at the Den. But certainly the world's capacity for outrage, Millwall-related outrage, is seemingly endless. I don't know what they'd do without us, listeners. We would have to be invented if we didn't exist. And the chances of Millwall not singing songs that get under the skin of the rest of the world are probably close to zero, aren't they? Rightly or wrongly. Do you sing those songs, listeners? Do you sing them? I don't. I'm too busy talking into a microphone on my iPhone. There we are. Flags fluttering in the breeze on the Dockers stand. It's, as I say, a beautiful day. Union flag, the Millwall flag and the St George's Cross. Stiff, erect in the breeze. Decent crowd, my listeners, for a 12:30 Saturday kickoff. I think the Groupon sales will certainly help this. Block 1 where I am is not quite full up, but there's only a few seats left around me. The nutcase that talks to himself on the bus. But otherwise it's pretty full. There was a wanker in the red, listeners. I can't see him, unfortunately, from my vantage point. Stoke there coming forwards. It's a ball cut out by Crum, who gives it straight back to the red and white stripes. Famous colours, of course. Stanley Matthews is clubbing at Stoke City. At the end of his career, anyway. Blackpool earlier on. Ticking towards 9 minutes, going towards 10. There's been a couple of moments for Stoke without any real danger, but certainly they've had the ball bobbing around our penalty area. Long ball forwards, that's going to run through to Lucas Jensen. Going towards 21 minutes, ticking towards the halfway point of a quiet first half overall. It's been probably more Stoke City so far than Millwall, but this is a chance to get the ball in the action. This right-sided corner. Crowd trying to rouse the Lions into some penalty area excitement. Ball into the middle, that's slightly aimless at the moment from Millwall. Out wide left, this is Imarku. We see a bit of incisive work. He takes his man on, takes him well. That's going to go for a goal kick. Well, as my old mum used to say about the knives in a drawer, some of them were a bit blunt as old Harry. And so far, we're blunt as old Harry. So there's 22 minutes. Never quite worked out who old Harry was, but he was blunt. The club accounts were, well, at least a précis of the club accounts are published on the website. Listeners, I don't know if you saw this. The kind of bottom line figure is that last season, 23-24, excuse me, the club made a loss of 19.6 million. That was the season of Gary Rowett, Joe Edwards, and then Neil Harris, and the remarkable escape from relegation, which, when just looking at the season's results just before I came out this afternoon, still never ceases to amaze me what we achieved there, what Neil Harris achieved. But yeah, that season we lost 19.6 million for a number of factors, I would imagine, not least losing your manager, but other matters too. How close did we come to relegation? Well, if Neil hadn't have come back and done what he did, then we would have been taking 19.6 million into League One, which is a galling thought. Our collective thanks should go to the Berylson family for underwriting the club, because that's who fundamentally picks up the tab for that nearly 20 million. This is ball breaks. This is either way. Marco breaking into the penalty area. His shot is blocked. Just trying to jink his way past some last-ditch defending there. Falls to Billy Mitch. Stumbles, giving Stoke the chance to break now. A little bit of open play. It's been fairly placid stuff so far, but this is Stoke breaking forward. They've got a man on the left line. Kramer with a block there, done very well there. Blocked the shot. 26 minutes. So yeah, 19.6 mil was the loss. 23-24. I can't imagine it's going to be much different. There are various other bits which go slightly over my head. I've never been a finance man, listeners. I still struggle to put together an Excel spreadsheet, in truth. So income is, they're trying to increase income with all the various things that people moan about online, but that's the bottom line. Nearly £20 million loss. It's worth a look if you get the chance to read through. You don't have to be a financial expert to read those lead numbers, listeners, to understand the club's financial situation. So. Push there on Imaku. Ironic cheers all around the den. And Joe Bryan standing over the ball, just left of the centre circle. 34 minutes. Oh, best chance from Mill so far. It was a flick header from Jake Cooper from that left-sided cross. Well wide in the event, but it was a nice power cross. Jake Cooper was up for it, just couldn't get the right kind of touch on it. 35 minutes. Best chance for the Lions so far. This is Stoke on the break, ball into the middle, across the penalty area there. I do worry that Lucas doesn't always communicate with his back line enough. You watch that go past him slightly, but no danger there, thankfully. Joe Bryan checks his cross there. He's trying to find a way through. It falls through to a little melee of legs and arms, but it's come backwards. Billy Mitch, that's his Imaku on the left side. 41 minutes. Joe Bryan, shot on target, down low. No real power in that. No venom. Dipping low shot. Goalkeeper takes easily. Chipped forward by Denor. Bounces away from goal, unfortunately, which has been very much the trait of Millwall in this first half. Pretty poor quality fare, really, from Millwall in the first half. The word fair leaps into my head because I'm getting hungry. And I've got to wait till after the game, so I'm not going to go down and have one of their pucker pies. It's going to be absolute mayhem down there. But the fare on the pitch has been pretty poor quality from the Millwall perspective. Not been great from the Stoke, but they look probably more threatening. We've looked okay going down the left side with Imaku, but without any real cutting edge, listeners. So there we are. Last few seconds now. I think the referee will put it up any moment now. There is Millwall 0, Stoke City 0 at the break. All away we go, dear listeners, for the second half of this pulsating match. This end of season stroll to the beach there's been so far. Millwall are attacking the way end, totally in contrary to the teachings of the Venerable Bede, but no one seems to care about that yet. Stoke attacking the cold blood. Pretty drab game, to be honest with you, listeners. I don't know what they would be making it all around the world, but so far it's been humdrum here at the Den. Cool afternoon. I've got my step-toe fingerless gloves on, you'll be glad to hear. Ivanovic getting manhandled. Ironic cheers around the Den because there's a strong sense the referee's been giving us next to nothing in that first half. Not that we've been playing particularly amazingly, but or max amazingly, looking at the floodlight supplies. But anyways, a free kick from Millwall on the right. We're 47 minutes. Casper Denor to take. Floats the ball forwards. There's Jake, it rolls over Jake, Fonso Imaku on the left side. He's got 3 men in front of him, ball into the box, across the face of the goal. That was a lovely little cross, across the 6-yard box. Came to Ivanovic with a very tight angle, and his return back in was blocked for a right-sided corner, listeners. Good early chance from Millwall. Really coming on strongly, Arrivederci Millwall, listeners, in my opinion. Big debate about these 12:30 kickoffs on one of the threads I was looking at. It was the season ticket. You know, price rise thread on one of the websites I saw, might have been Mill Online. And someone made a point about not being able to make so many games because of the 12:30 starts, and they do rather drain the atmosphere slightly, as against the old traditional 3 o'clock. The ball down the middle is offside there. Ivanovic was about a good yard offside there, listeners. I don't mind the 12:30s personally, but then, you know, I do think they lack atmosphere as a consequence of their earlier start, that's for sure. But there's, as I say, Groupon has been busy today, so we've got a decent crowd in here, if not an amazing atmosphere, but there's not been much to respond to, in all fairness to everybody in the ground today. Ball down the middle, a little dink through from Ivanovic trying to find Coburn there. No real signs of a partnership in these two at the moment, listeners. This is what's striking me. Obviously, we all look back to the classic partnerships of the past, most recently Morrison and Gregory, but hard to see the glimmerings of a partnership with those two at the moment, in my opinion. Hasn't been tried very often, but certainly on the basis of this game so far, you don't see the even the roots of one. Ball breaks. This is the 10 down, coming down the left side. Be a sucker punch if we concede here. It's the crossbar, I think. Shot from the left side. It looks like it rattled the crossbar there. Wow. They'll ride their luck. Ball floated forwards towards Ivanovic. It just seems to get away from him. It seems to get away from him a lot, I notice. Ball's down the middle. Alex Neil doing his pieces over there, the fourth official. He thought the ball had gone out of play there, but this is Stoke on the left side. 61 minutes. On the left side again, still in possession. That's the band that hit the crossbar, I believe, a moment ago. Oh, it's broken through. Oh, what a save there by Lucas Jensen with his trading leg. Ball broken, put the forward through on goal. Jensen performed a small miracle there, listeners. Mill draw a free kick now. That's the second chance there. Was looking for a replay, but not seeing it from my angle. Looked like it was an open goal for the Stoke player there, and Lucas's trading leg kept it at bay somehow. 62 minutes. It's been a poor game, in truth, listeners. I can't dress this up. I can't put lipstick on a pig's head, listeners, can I? It's been a pretty poor show. Mill have got a little bit lucky in the second half with the two moments that we've described already. We're on, 65 minutes. This is a throw-in from the right side. Chance for Jeff Tanganga to lob the ball in. Falls to Casper Denor. Took it on a volley, deflection. Goalkeeper got down low to pick it up on the line now. One of the few chances that Millwall have had, really, across the whole game. This is one of the things that's bothering me, listeners. We didn't at Leeds, and we're not here today. We were not creating chances. 20 minutes of this to go, listeners. I'm personally can't wait for it to finish. Terrible, isn't it? This is why you tune into the podcast, listeners, for me to go on and on about the chance to go home again. Anyway, here's Kramer on the right. Ball overlapping is Bangura. Gets a nice little cross into, just taken away from Ivanovic as he was lurking. Left-sided corner, Millwall, a bit better. Floated towards the penalty spot. It's a header, bullet header from Tanganga. It is blocked, and we'll go for another left-sided corner. That was from Tanganga, listeners. Connolly's coming in. It's going to be Arrivederci Millwall coming out. Good applause for him. I think he's been the one bright spot in a fairly drab Millwall performance overall. In comes Aaron Connolly with just short of 15 minutes, just over 15 minutes to go. Wes Harding's coming in for Tristan Kramer. Connolly in kind of full long sleeve gloves, but low gym socks look. Is that the chic? Ball breaks. This is Harding, nicely cut out there. This is Connolly. Draws a free kick on the left side. Near the halfway, a little bit of fisticuffs. Crowd like that, a bit of excitement. A little bit of lapel holding going on down there, listeners. This is what the crowd want. Connolly wants to tell everyone about it. Didn't see enough of the incident to know what's got his goat up there, but been shown a yellow. 81 minutes, listeners. Millwall's just suddenly starting to play some more flowing football, which is nice. Better late than never. This is Connolly. He gets clipped. It's going to be a free kick. He draws free kicks well, Aaron Connolly. I don't know why he's not playing more for us. We have to lurk into the mind of Alex Neil to find that out. But every time I've seen him lately, he's always looked attractive when he's on the ball. Whether he's a 90-minute player or not, I don't know. Whether there's issues, in inverted commas, I don't know. But he's certainly come into this game, has brought a little bit of quality where it was sadly lacking for the most part. Great suggestion by Sean Campbell on the YouTube, with some of the YouTube comments, of having something called St Achtung's Day, St Achtung's Day, which is the day where player football becomes mathematically impossible. We're not quite there, I don't think, after this, but if it stays 0-0 anyway, but it won't be far away. St Achtung being the patron saint of drab failure. So we will announce it when St Achtung's Day finally arrives, Sean. Big shout out to Sean Campbell on the YouTube. It's been a forgettable game, listeners. I'm doing my best to forget it as I'm speaking to you. But we do have still 3 minutes, maybe, plus any added time. I hope there won't be much of that, but you never know. This is Ivanovic, does well to release Wes Harding on the right side, the ball into the box. That's shouts for a penalty. I don't think that would have been a... This is false breaks. This is Connolly now. Overlapping is Joe Bryan. He does a great take and turn. Fantastic stuff. 22, shouts for a penalty. Not going to be given there. Looked like he took a better shout than the previous one. This is Connolly, little overhead header. This combines nicely with... flick header in from the left side cross from Ivanovic. He was offside. The linesman had his flag up there, listeners. People starting to drift off from the game. It's been pretty much a disappointing performance, in my opinion, from the Millwall perspective. I'm sure Stoke will regard it as a valuable 0.1 on the road, presuming it stays that way. We don't want to tempt Lady Luck, do we? We've still got maybe 2 or 3 minutes to go of regular time, plus any added time. This is Billy Mitchell now on the right side. He puts the ball into the middle. There's Tanganga. Well, Denor, man of the match, Denor there. Spreads it to Luke Cundall, who's got some work to do to impress 1 or 2 of the denizens of the in the last few games, I think. Jake calling forward Tanganga. It's going to be another long throw from Wes Harding, this time on the left. We're sending the big guns forward. We've got the last couple of minutes, maybe, of the added time to go. Only Joe Bryan remains back. Here it comes. It's a loopy one. Cooper gets a head to it. It's a penalty. Coburn clipped. As it flicked through, I found Coburn who takes a clip. Penalty. Wow. Moments to go in the game. Yellow card being shown to the Stoke players protesting. I thought it looked like a trip in real time, listeners. Ivanovic has got the ball. Bit of pushing and shoving. The 26 wants to say something to him. Everyone's got something to say to Ivanovic. There we go. Dramatic late finish in a game that was most unpromising. Let's see what he can do here. 24, 26 had plenty to say to Ivanovic. We'd love to see him bury it, listeners. There we go. Way! All for nothing. 1-0 Millwall. Ivanovic runs away doing his DJ thing with his Mitrovic move. 1-0 Millwall. Really nice penalty. Top right-hand corner. There's like another booking out there. 22 gets shown something out there. Great to see that mouthy 26 have it ran down his throat. I'd walk past him and have a word. Nice finish. Well, from stony soil, a flower has taken root on an unpromising afternoon here in South Bermondsey, dear listeners. It was a nicely finished penalty, that's for sure. Certainly Coburn got clipped, I thought, in real time. So there we are. Mill ride their luck a little bit. They're moments earlier on Stoke, where they might feel unlucky, but got to take the chances. There it is! Finishes 1-0 Millwall. The 26 wants to have a little word with Ivanovic, push people around. What a mug. He's got the right up, that 26, right surly looking individual. I think it's time for the quote, Mr. Boy, for now. Well, deserved or undeserved, I'm going to leave you to make your minds up, dear listeners. I feel a big thank you for tuning into Achtung Millwall. Hopefully, we'll be back after the break. The welcome return to Mr. Harry Warren. Stay tuned.
Achtung, Millwall.
Huge welcome back on the show after a bit of a sojourn away. It's Harry Warren. Welcome back to the show, H.
It's good to be back. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, and as you come back, we try and play 4-4-2 yesterday. That was an interesting experiment. Just looking at the BBC website in the wake of yesterday's 1-0 win, dramatic 1-0 win as it turned out. We had to go at a 4-4-2. I'm not entirely sure that 4-4-2 formation as it was constituted yesterday quite worked out, Harry. How did you see yesterday's game overall?
Really weird, wasn't it? It was like, we've won, so you've got to be happy with a win.
You're happy, yeah.
But, like, realistically, it was pretty... If you had told me that both teams were mid-table with nothing to play for, and it was sort of like an early, sort of late season fixture, I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have been shocked. But for some unknown reason, we managed to win, and the results have gone our way. And now you come away and go, "What a fucking win that was!" You know what I mean? It changes the narrative. As is football, the result dictates everything,
vision, isn't it? I mean, 4-4-2. I mean, it dawned on me once the lineup was with the two men up front, Coburn and Ivanovic up front. Midfield, Dinor, Mitchell, Imaku and Bangura Williams, as they've got on the BBC website here. So it just didn't quite click. The whole game looked a little bit, from our perspective, we looked a little bit on the beach, I suppose you'd say. We just never quite got into gear somehow, did we, yesterday?
No, it was like an old-fashioned fucking car, weren't it? It was just in the winter where you have to go out and set the choke on.
Push it down the road to get it to start. Yeah, there was.
I understand that reference. Cars used to have a personality for no reason, deciding whether or not they'd work or not.
Yeah, strange performance. I mean, I think the squad generally, I think, are in that cliche term on the beach slightly. I think everyone's accepted. Rightly or wrongly, because as you say, the numbers now with the actual table still allows us a shot at sixth spot if we can only get it together. But I just think there's a certain end of season kind of quality. It felt that way for most of the game. I mean, there was so little incident, listeners, in that game. It's actually quite hard to latch on to anything. I can remember in the first half, Stoke going probably closest. They hit the crossbar on that run down the left side. From their number 10, I think it was, and he hit the crossbar. And there was a good save actually by Lucas Jensen after that. The striker found himself free in the box with pretty much an open goal in front of him, and Jensen got his leg to it. I wanted to mention Jensen whilst my mind dwells on him, Harry, because I found myself going around in circles with this goalkeeper, because the other day I was questioning whether the club would want to look at the goalkeeping position. I think they still must want to come summertime. But he does pull off some brilliant saves, doesn't he? There's certain parts of his game that you'd question, perhaps. Communication doesn't always seem on point, but certainly in terms of pulling off worldy saves, he's pretty good in that way. How do you see him? What do you say?
I think he's a championship backup goalkeeper, no more than that. That's my opinion. I don't think he's good enough to take. He's not bad.
I'd agree with that. I'd agree, but he does have his moments. That's the point.
Of course, but all players playing at this level should be able to have their moments. Otherwise, they wouldn't be playing at this level. I think with a goalkeeper, I'd rather a goalkeeper who's a constant 7 than 1 week of 4, 1 week and 8, 1 week of 4, 1 week and 8, and that's where I see Jensen. I thought at Leeds, the Leeds game was the game plan for me would have been keep this at 0-0 as long as possible, and if we get a point out of this, we've done really, really well, and that might be a vital point. That goes out the window now. Yes, Cooper. How many own goals have we scored this season, by the way?
Quite a few. Yeah, I haven't got the numbers. It's a few. 4 or 5, did I read online? Something. There's a few.
It always looks worse for a goalkeeper when you get to something and palm it in. It makes you look, you have a touch of the Jordan.
At your near post, yeah.
You have a touch of the Jordan Archer's Poppadom wrists about you. And that's what he strikes me as. Now, whether I think he obviously, because of the situation we found ourselves in with obviously the tragedy with Matty, and you can't blame the club for what we've ended up with. I think that's obvious. That obviously was a scramble. There's no way they were looking at a long-term
goalkeeper. No.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see. And as well, I think one of my criticisms of Jensen isn't just the things that everyone rattles on online about, like that he doesn't command his box, that he doesn't all the things that he doesn't do. It's also how much Tanganga thinks he's a cunt as well. It's very clear that Tanganga fucking moans at him constantly to play the ball quicker or to move the ball or to do, and it's constant. And if once you find yourself watching it, it's like I don't know, it's like sort of a Laurel and Hardy sketch show of Tanganga getting more and more irate as the game goes on. You'll see it. It shows up on telly, let alone when you see it live.
In the week. There was a moment. This was going back to Leeds listeners, not yesterday, but I was watching obviously the TV coverage of the Leeds game. There was a moment. Must have been in the second half. Kramer was in the game, and he must have come on because I think we started Harding up there, didn't we, at Leeds, and then brought Kramer in. But I think Jensen put the ball straight into touch from a clearance, and the Kramer's look back at him was the kind of look that would remind you of when you're at a party, Harry, and across the other side of the room is your ex looking at you with daggers, from across the room whilst you are, chatting up the latest hottie, and it was that kind of daggers look. But the camera caught it in a moment. I thought, oh, okay. The camera does not lie. The picture tells 1,000 stories there, doesn't it? I do think there's a certain lack of confidence. I'm not here to knock Lucas Jensen. I just think that communication is king, isn't it? And clearly there are issues with that in that position. Teamed with good saves, I go around in circles with him, as I say.
Yeah, I think he's like a halfway house between a modern goalkeeper and an old-fashioned goalkeeper. So he has elements of, by his size and by what he is, so you think he'd be able to catch and kick and basically keep the ball out the back of the net and command his area from what he looks like. Yeah. I've not watched him long enough to know he isn't that. He can't play with his feet, so he's not a modern goalkeeper in the sense that they want to clip balls out. He probably won't go any higher than the Championship because he can't do that. His kicking from his hand is terrible. There was a chance yesterday where he's got the ball, he's come and taken a cross, or they've put a corner in. He catches the ball. I think it must have been the first half. We were attacking Colbo Lane.
Yeah.
He's popped it out, and all it needs to be is the one where they drop it and get a bit of side on it, and it just sidewinder out the goalkeeper's hand. And Matty Sarkic used to be able to do it. David Ford used to do it really well. It spins in, and Amaku's gone, and all this ball needs to be is just find the space and stay in. And fucking Jensen I can't remember if it either went fucking too long or no. What it did was it fucking didn't find Amaku. It went inside and fucking found their right centre half. And that's the problem, is that, it's a bit like fucking the Morecambe and Wise sketch of they're doing all the right things, just not necessarily in the right order. It's a bit shit, really.
I think we have to be looking at the position, Harry, in the summertime. We've got to be. I can't believe that Alex Neil's not doing the same stuff.
Well, see, I'm not against getting a younger goalkeeper that's going to grow at the club. I'm not against that. But surely if you're getting the younger goalkeeper, because I don't think Jensen's particularly old, but if you're getting
early 20s.
if you're getting a younger goalkeeper, you've got to go for one of these modern. Like clearly, we want to be a counter-attacking side. Like all our signings, all the signings that we've seen, they're quick. They're ball-playing players. They're not an old-fashioned Millwall lumpy fucking 4-4-2. Be strong in the tackle. We want to break. We want to play on the front foot when we want to punish you and win the ball in transition, right? And to do that, you need a keeper that can put the ball in behind, and we ain't got that. That's as simple as that. For me, Roberts is our number one. I have not. Well, obviously, I know why, because the FA fucking hate him. But and us. But that's why he's not playing for me. I think he would be in. I think he would be in the side by now if it hadn't been for the.
We've invested in Jensen, and I don't know what the deal was with Roberts. I think he came to us as a free transfer or something of that kind. It wasn't big money, I don't think, but. Whereas we've invested in Jensen. So this is one of the things I want to come back to, because we played with Ivanovic up front and Coburn yesterday. Coburn's on loan with us, isn't he? But Ivanovic is a couple of £1 million worth of investment there.
Yeah, they want Coburn as well.
We're playing 4-4-2, which I know, a birthright, isn't it? 4-4-2 football, listeners. We obviously need wingers. We're a bit short squad-wise at the moment. Bangura Williams on the BBC, they have him as a winger. I don't know if he was a winger yesterday particularly, but in Marku certainly was the only one that I thought looked like any kind of threat from our midfield going forward. Denor got the man of the match. I approve of that, because I think he's a very improved player. It wasn't Bangura's day yesterday, I don't think, particularly. And Billy, I think, also is doing his Billy Mitchell stuff, which is not particularly offensive football. It's more pass the ball, contained type of style, isn't it? But up front, we've got two big boys, but we're not really playing the kind of style that's going to exploit their height, Harry. It didn't work out that way anyway yesterday. Whether it can do or not, I don't know with some of the other wingers. Would you persevere with 4-4-2 at home as a way forwards, this experiment?
I don't really mind playing 4-4-2. I don't really mind playing anything. I think the major problem we've got is that if you look at the injuries since Palace, like you've lost Aziz, you've lost Honeyman, you've lost Negley.
Negley, yeah.
You've lost 3. You lost Lovelace, so lost the fiver and paid £1 million.
BBB's that we've not seen him at all. Injured, I guess. BBB. Benicio Boateng.
Yeah, you ain't seen him. You haven't seen the other one, that AJ. Whatever, I think he's
he was
like
on
about
the bench,
16 or 17.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a push towards youth, which at this business end of the season is where it's hurting you, is because you're basically going to have to. The reason that they're on the beach is, surely we all know, like next week at Sunderland, if anyone picks up a niggle or a knock or whatever in training this week, we might end up starting with a 16-year-old centre forward in the Championship. With the greatest deal of respect to him, he could turn out to be the next Wayne Rooney. But I think I've only ever seen one 16-year-old, other than Wayne Rooney and Theo Walcott, ever play sort of this high up through the Football League.
It's a rarity. Yeah, for a reason.
So obviously that's a decision. Probably going on to what we're going to talk about later. That's a decision where the club have made the decision to jettison this season. I think that was a slight stupidity, in my opinion, especially when you look at the accounts. But obviously, they're a long-term plan where I'm looking at if you were to get in the playoffs, you're in a lottery to fucking get all the silver in Christendom, because you only need to go up for one season and you're light.
Come back to the losses, £19 million. But anyway, we'll come back to that. You're right about promotion. That does wipe it out in one fell swoop. Certain danger, because you're looking at Luton at the moment at rock bottom, I think, as we speak. I haven't got the table in front of me. But
don't employ a League One manager in the Championship would be my suggestion.
I think that's probably a good motto generally, isn't it? Just going back, I thought when we brought Connolly in, there was moments for Stoke. They went close, had a header looped onto the roof of the net in the first half. They hit the crossbar. Was that in the second half? I think it was.
Yeah.
And the save from Jensen that we've mentioned already. But I thought once we brought Connolly in, and I don't understand quite why he's not seeing so much game time. We can speculate, maybe, but
Libel in there.
My libel lawyers are getting itchy already. But we're seeing him in these little late game bursts, Harry. I mean, it looks very effective. There's an intelligent player there, and I think strong. We improved as soon as he came into the game. Came in for Marco, who I thought was our only threat really. In the game yesterday. But we looked better. We went close. There was a crossing from the left side, went across the 6-yard box that, looking at the highlights reel this morning, looked like a clear penalty on Coburn, was pulled back by the Stoke central defender, not given. Whether that played any part in the late penalty decision, I don't know. I thought that was the penalty we got in real time. The way that Coburn went down was very convincing. I unbiased voice, listeners, of course, but I thought it was a penalty, a proper penalty.
I've got to be honest. I thought the referee was fucking abysmal yesterday. Not
he
just
was dire, as so many are, but he was. Yeah.
Well. I mean, there was one where they're on a break. Tanganga bumps into fucking their.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he gives a free kick to them. They're on the break.
Stoke player did his nut at him, didn't he? He was, and rightly so. You'd have the right arse over that if that happened to you. You know,
that's what I mean. Like that's me being totally unbiased. Like, so he has missed that penalty. The one that we probably got wasn't a penalty. As it evened itself out, I suppose it has. Can Mark Robbins take a fucking slice of humble pie and shut the fuck up? Would be quite handy because, yeah.
He's got a touch of Leeds syndrome about him, Mark Robbins. The way he was talking about Stoke, like a bit like Leeds and a commentary team in the week, that we should be awed watching the kind of football they're playing. He had a little bit of that about him. I don't think they were all that. We made them look better because we just weren't at it yesterday. I think that was the key to the game. They looked all right in flashes. But
the argument is that we didn't even have to be that good to. I know we won 1-0 and it was a late penalty, but they offered very little going forward. We offered very little going forward. Their budget's probably 3 times the amount of ours. The only interesting bit of the entire game for me was the ongoing, can we have a fucking row without getting sent off between Amarku and their right back?
And continued with Connolly, because he almost his first act when he came into the pitch was to do the old Derek Walk and grab someone's lapels and have a kind of row with one of their players. I thought that might go bad for him, but he thankfully, I think he saw yellow, didn't he, when he came in? And on he went. I mean, just to finish the game, I mean, the penalty, I thought was really well taken by Ivanovic because he had the 26, which made me laugh, actually. I put some still shots, some screenshots, listeners, out on my X account because that 26 was trying to do kind of like a little version of mind games on Ivanovic, getting in his face before he took the penalty, running past him just as he was lining up to take it. And even their goalkeeper, Joe Hansen, came out and had a word with him. Everyone's trying to be Bruce Grobbelaar these days, Harry, and try and get inside someone's head. And I thought Ivanovic really put all of that out of his head and buried it in the top right corner, which was the perfect riposte for that kind of stuff. I thought, as a dead ball striker, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he is. I think after that free kick, I think he should be. No one else should be near anything else.
No, I agree. If it's shootable, let him have it. Yeah.
I think it was interesting. You've touched on that we had 2 big boys up front and no one won anything in the air. They don't really win. They don't really win anything in the air. I don't think Ivanovic scored a goal yet with his head.
There was one, but it was a tap, a nod in. There was one of his early when he just after Harris left. I think he was at the far post. Who was that against? I can't remember. Crossing from the right side, I think he got his head to it. But
away from home because I think that's only his second goal at home.
Coburn is the closest to what you might call the traditional centre forward battering ram, if to borrow that phrase. Ivanovic certainly isn't that. Both are better when the ball's in front of them and they're running onto balls, aren't they? They both seem to have more about that side of the game than the traditional Cascarino or Paul Moody quality of bash. Yeah. Crunch kind of approaches against centre halves. I mean, I'm not sure they quite clicked yesterday. There wasn't much service. That's the only thing I'd say that was in their defence. There wasn't much in the way of service.
No, I think that's fair. I also think that if you look at our striking options for next season, if we sort of look ahead, we've got obviously they've made it quite clear that they'd like to sign Coburn. So I'm assuming that means either Nesbitt or Langstaff are being fucked off. Because you wouldn't have...
Neither will break my heart. I mean, Nisbet, I've noticed, has been picked for the Scottish national team. He's playing at Aberdeen, scored a few goals up there. But there is that's someone when I put on that he'd been picked for the national team. Someone replied about doing what, driving the coach or making the tea or something.
I mean, to give it full credit, at one point Jordan Archer was picked for the Scotland side. So let's not
overplay our hand, Harry. Here, no.
Respect.
Oh yeah, but I mean, there must be movement. I mean, Langstaff hasn't been a success. I don't think we saw quite a bit of him in the early part of the season. It just didn't happen for him, for the boy. I mean,
I think as well. With maybe as a segue to what we're about to talk about, the ridiculousness of not getting him out on loan when you know you're not going to play him is fucking stupid. It's very Millwall of, okay, you've taken a punt on a player, that's fine. We all have to take punt on players. It hasn't worked out. Okay, how can we sort of in business
recoup some of this?
Recoup some of our losses here? Would it be not an idea to maybe loan him out to someone in League One that needs a striker? Would it not be an idea to try and, even if we're paying the wages, just with the idea of selling him in the summer, because you've still got to pay his wages whether he's at the club or not. So you're not really losing anything that way. But
no. I mean, this is the downfall. I mean, the traditional management role, which shall we call it the traditional Neil Harris approach, where the manager is intimately linked with transfer dealings and has almost like the final say and all of that kind of thing. Is you see it everywhere, Harry. I mean, very few clubs follow that model now. Everyone's talked about as a head coach, but the amount of input that you get from your head coach to the role of director of football, which is Steve Gallen in our case at the Den, I always wonder how much there is, because there's a slight tension between creating players for resale. So I mean, Ivanovic would be a good example. He's got a goal yesterday, and he does some things very, very well. He's by no means a complete championship level striker. I don't think I'm being unfair on the boy. He might be able to get there, but we are short of that at the moment. But because we've invested money in him, we've got some pressure on the head coach to play him, because that's the point of what the club is trying to do. It does lead to some shuddering along the road slightly, doesn't it? Rather than picking on merit, if there's such an idea in football. I don't know.
Definitely.
Don't always work that way, but so that's a problem. I think Jensen in goal. I mean, obviously Roberts is now suspended, which we'll come back to before I let you go. Which we don't know where he's going to come back from that. He's been through quite a traumatic experience. I don't know whether he will want to stick around at Millwall with it. I don't know. That's something obviously for the boy in the club to work out. But I think sometimes I can see the idea of this director of football doing the signings, head coach managing the employees kind of approach, but I'm not sure it always works quite as smoothly as you might want. Do you agree?
You need to, well, like in any form of recruitment, you need to come up with what this is going to sound really wanky now. So if you really
sound wanky, go on, Harry, go on.
Yeah, if you've got a problem with this, ladies and gentlemen, maybe skip the next 2 minutes of wanky sort of
wankiness.
Wanky bullshit. If you've got like KPIs and you've got targets and you're doing it by XG and you're doing all this target-driven stuff that Brentford and Brighton do, which everyone's trying to get on board with this model. Or you have loads of money and throw darts at players on a board, which is what Manchester United and this season what Manchester City have done.
I suppose Spurs have done it in a way, haven't they, as well? I mean, they're spending, but not very effectively.
Millwall previously used to go for a bit of column A and a bit of column B, but they didn't have any stats to back it up. It was just vibes. Are you a Millwall type player? Yes, and you can be signed, right? And if you're not, what we'll do, just in case you're not, we'll sign you on loan. And then if you are any good, normally we miss out on signing you because somebody else who's
comes in with more money once you've shone at the Den. Right?
Yeah. So I get the idea of going away from the loanees, which we've done over the last 5-10 years.
Yeah.
The problem is that quality in the Championship this season has not been a very good Championship. I know Burnley don't concede, and I know Leeds are supposedly fucking amazing, but Sunderland were supposedly amazing at the start of the season. They've tailed right off. There's a lot. There shouldn't be this many teams in the running with 8 games to go who have still got half a chance. It's like picking an horse in the National. It's not actually that good a race. It's just the event. It's just it's the spectacle.
Yeah.
Millwall transfer dealings for me is really this season. Long term, it's brilliant, and I want to make that clear. I like the idea of signing youngsters. I like the idea. We've got to change. I'm not saying we haven't got to change, but in January this year, with where we were, with how many points away we were, do you not fucking if you're going to spend that kind of money after SA leaving, would you not have gone for someone more senior? Would you not have tried to get someone that's going to get you 10, 15 goals? Would you not have tried? That's the eternal question. That's the eternal gambler.
Yeah, it's a circle. Yeah, you can argue that both ways, can't you? Yeah.
I think you could have, for the money that we spent, I would have liked to have maybe gone with 3 youngsters and 2 ready first team 11 players, experienced championship players. With the idea that obviously we know there's a load of the experienced players in this team out of contract in the summer. So we're not taking on, people go, well, you can't carry everyone around forever. There's players that will be moved on in the summer, or a lot of us expect to be moved on in the summer because they don't play the way. There's some players that I don't want moved on that may be controversial. I don't want Jake Cooper to leave this football club. I think that would be ridiculously stupid.
Is he one of the contracted, the ones whose contract?
Yeah, he's one of the ones out of contract. Okay. The main reason I don't want Cooper to go is because you're all walking around in these days that you think Tanganga's staying, and we'd have to replace two centre halves. It's not. That doesn't work. Kramer's been playing out of position and he looks okay. And when he sort of slotted in for 5 minutes yesterday, when we're down to 10 men, he looks fine. But you don't know. And then again, if he picks up an injury 10 minutes into the season, who are we going to play? Where's Ard in there? I don't know.
If Wes is still there, I don't know what his contract is.
I think he's out of contract as well. But that's kind of the point. It's a squad that needs surgery, but it doesn't need major open heart surgery. It just needs maybe a nip and tuck. And I think we've gone for. I feel the experienced pros need to stay, or some of them need to stay, and the youth needs to come in gradually, which we need to do. But that doesn't mean that we should, again, only sign youth, because then we'll end up being. There was times yesterday, which I think. And maybe you alluded to in the live piece, obviously, is I felt we got bullied by Stoke yesterday at times because we just didn't look like we had, a bit of nous. It did look like men against boys. So Marku, bless him, he done the Marku thing, which is I'm going to drive to the byline and try and cut it back. And once they work you out, I haven't really got anything else about me. That's what a Marku is. That's fine. Hopefully he picks up more strings to his bow. Has he got better this season? I think he has. I think the most improved player is Femi Aziz. Again, another youngster that we've brought on this season. There are a lot of...
And persevered with, because, I've said it many times and I'll say it again, when I first saw Femi, I really wasn't convinced, Harry. But he's come on strong as the season's gone along. So any critics, and I include myself, have had their words, you got to eat humble pie because you've been shown to be wrong. So I think there's always got to be room for watching a youngster struggle through some early difficult games and then come good. That's got to be what we're all about. We've also signed some players in January that we just haven't seen. I mean, I've mentioned, forgive me if you're listening, Bobby Benicio Botti, I think his name. We haven't seen him at all. I think he's injured. Zach Lovelace has been on straight into the doctor's surgery, hasn't he? It's going to be interesting over the summertime to see some of these players actually, and even AJ, who I think scored for the under-21s but was on the bench yesterday. And there's a young kid, Sheldon Kendall. I don't know enough about the boy to comment, but it's going to be interesting to see what the summertime brings, Harry, because some of these players really ought to be the fanfare they arrived with. I mean, you're going to expect to be impact players, aren't you, for next season? So, interesting time ahead. I think that's probably the best way we can probably leave it. I wanted to touch on the financial report, which was on the the club website, listeners. Now I'll put a caveat in. I can't actually create an Excel spreadsheet, Harry. So I do not speak as any kind of finance guru or expert on financial matters, but I do know what a loss of 19.6 million on the year 23-24. I do know what that means. And that's obviously being picked up by the Berylson Chestnut Hill Ventures, the family trust entity, whatever you want to call it. 23-24 was the season where we lost Gary Rowett, we appointed Joe Edwards, and then Neil Harris performed a near miracle. Every time I look at that season's results, you look at the wins at the end of the season to save us from League One, which is where we could have taken a £19.6 million loss, Harry, into League One.
Increased by about £7 million.
That would have been disastrous, as they say on Strictly Come Dancing. So I suppose the first thing to say is £19.6 million loss underwritten by James Berylson's family. You've got to say thank you for that, really. The wisdom of some of the choices, I suppose, hindsight's easy. Joe Edwards would have been an expensive mistake, wouldn't he?
Yeah. And Gary Rowett's contract was always a 2-year. Was it 2 years that he always got? It was a rolling 2-year extension. You'd have had to pay Gary Rowett up for 2 years.
Yeah, expensive.
So you probably paid what in managers wise? Managers are probably about, and then does I don't know if the Neil Harris departure is counted upon that.
Don't know. No departure. No, 23-24. That would be. I think they run June to July in football.
Okay.
So that would finish in July 24 in that case. So Neil Harris's departure will come in next season's 20, which will report on 24, this season 24-25, which will that'll be included on those accounts.
So you're probably talking between those two managers and appointing the next one. You're probably talking what, £7 million, I reckon.
Yeah. It's 19.1 million is the loss, listeners. I think I said 19.6. So what's half a £1 million between firms? 19.1 million for the period 23-24. Match day revenues are up, increasing, which is a necessary thing. That's increased to 7.5 million. That's the amount of money made on match days by the football club. And there's other various costs, which I'm not going to delve too deeply into because I'm not on home turf on this kind of stuff. But the bottom line is that James Berylson's family is picking up a £19.1 million bottom line. So no
wonder we need to make assets.
Well, there's only so many ways to do it, isn't there? I mean, it's interesting because yesterday was a Groupon day in Block 1, so I'm sitting there surrounded by various European tourists, and you know, as listeners know, I quietly seethe up there, don't I? I like my array of empty plastic seats around, but that's not going to attack poor James's £19.1 million loss. So you've got to, and we were talking the other day about the season ticket price matrix, which they've increased prices. I mean, when you look at these numbers, Harry, you can see why. I mean, I don't think.
Are you gonna make me come out swinging here for fucking they increasing?
No, I'm asking the question because this is the point that often gets made online. Now, some of the dealings, yes, I mean, this year appointing Joe Edwards turns out to be a mistake. At the time when he first arrived, he came with great high hopes, and that's football. It's a bit like we said with say Macaulay Langstaff. You sign with high hopes, and then they depart quietly in the dead of the close season. I mean, not achieve the success that you might have wanted. I think Joe Edwards arrived with a lot of very highly recommended, and as an appointment, I was really hopeful when he first came to us, but it just didn't check out, did it?
No, we put a supply teacher in charge of a football club.
A good assistant, because he's up with Frank Lampard at Coventry doing quite well.
Nick, there are millions of great coaches. There are very few good managers.
That's true. I agree.
And this is
it's an art. Yeah.
This goes back to with the greatest deal of respect, and you can't knock them for spending 19.1 million. But if you're not a football person, you get taken advantage of. And I really hope Jimmy has learned a lot from that first season. I hope he's still learning now. What I do know is that if you look at within your podcast, you can pull up your figures of who listens to this show. We have got a major problem with making kids under 18s come to this football club and watch football. It's not
Oh
just
God,
like,
no. This is a widespread thing, but yeah, you're right in Millwall terms.
So you know what we'll do? We'll whack their fucking season ticket prices up by 66% in the middle of no growth and a fucking oncoming recession, because that's a really fucking good long-term business strategy. Please explain.
I agree. No, I think my point was more.
I can swallow it. I'm still at work. I wouldn't attack. You don't attack the pension. What is it with fucking Britain in 2025 attacking pensioners, the disabled, and kids? It's fucking ridiculous. This is where we are now.
We're in a world where the easiest targets get attacked, unfortunately. But yeah, no, your point is. I take your point entirely. I think that what I was driving at, probably a bit ham-fistedly, is the need to generate more money. But you're right about long-term thinking, because we've got to get more kids in. And you look around on match day, Harry. I mean, there's quite a few families in where I sit up in Block 1. I'm sure around the rest of the ground, listeners, but it's not enough. I think you do need to.
I mean, the match day experience has got better. I'll give them credit where credit's due. The intelligence of putting a bar around the Dockers Lower is a brilliant idea, which actually sells Guinness. Getting people to pour it correctly would be a good fucking next step. But I mean, we'll take it. We'll take it.
Where I come out the exit for Block 1, and there's now a little bar, like a pop-up bar there, where they've got music playing. You can get a beer straight after the game, so you haven't got to. You haven't got to kind of go on a cab or something. I mean, you can if you want to go to a proper pub.
May I make a dirty word, by the way, Millwall? If you want that to sell more beer, may I make a suggestion that you do something called dynamic pricing, or make it cheaper if you've got a season ticket or a membership? Because the amount of people that would, for £1 a pint cheaper over a season, how many people would subscribe to a membership program or a season ticket to get that £1 off for the 28 home games? Because they're going to have more than one pint, probably would end up doing you a lot of good business. That's what, you've got to look at what Spurs do. Spurs try to get people in early. They've nicked all the business out of the pub because the pint's £2 cheaper.
Yeah. No, these are good ideas. I really hope that if the club do listen to these kinds of shows, and there's lots of them around, and a lot of them have people have good ideas, but you're picking them up and run with them, because as I came out yesterday, I had the music playing downstairs, and look left, and there's a bar there. A lot of people, just want to have a post-match pint with their mates, and that's a good thing. That's what you want. That kind of it's a strange word, innovative thinking in Millwall terms. It is innovative, but probably basic business really. From
all that room over where the Lions Cafe is, all that room there, realistically, when it all gets shoveled up, that's a perfect place to have a massive outside bar. On days that is all that kind of stuff, and it's not like this isn't revolutionary. This is. I know Mark Fairbrother's got other fish to fry, FA inquiries and so on and so forth. But we almost need. I just feel like we're a football club that at times is traditional and has got its flaws, like I'm sure loads of others are. I don't know what other clubs' flaws are because I don't give a fuck about them. No. But I do feel like sometimes we don't press home our advantage in the things that we can do well, and sometimes when you do it. You think, people always at Millwall. People dislike change, so you're going to get
in the blood. It's in the blood
to start with, and you've got to kind of accept that everyone's going, shit, but it'll work in the end. People end up going there. It was relatively warm yesterday. We won in the last minute. Your business, that's extra revenue. That's it. That's putting, that will take away your £19.1 million loss, Jimmy. I'm not saying we're going to clear it all in a £19 million bar bill.
No, but it's a step. It's a load of small steps. I mean, I was really struck with the Europeans in Block 1 yesterday and elsewhere around the ground, listeners. But they're all decked out, Harry, in scarves. They got into the club shop and bought a scarf. It's a big cultural thing over there. I don't go to the club with the scarf. I'm still from the 1970s where you didn't show your colours. So this is how you make money, isn't it? I think the point I'm driving at is that there is a £19.1 million loss that's been made by our football club for many reasons, and you can talk to the cows come home on the rights and wrongs of some things, but we've got to get more money in. That's the bottom line, and unfortunately, when changes are made, people creak a little bit and they start to complain. But that's the backdrop of it all.
I know it sounds silly, and I know they've been brilliant owners, but if no one else thought of maybe there might come a time where they quite fancy having some other investment from someone. Because this is probably getting to a point where it's, you do that for 10 years, that's 200 million. I know that don't buy Haaland, but you know what I mean, what I'm trying to say. Like, there's got to be the long-term plan surely is to get promoted, right? Because that, if you get promoted, you get whatever, 180 million or whatever, that wipes everything that you've ever put into the club.
You'd think promotion to the Prem, and you'd think in terms of the development of the area, which is there's a block of flats appearing slowly on the other side of the Cold Blow Lane. And where I sit, I can just see the cranes, and it's starting to appear. So there's other blocks that have been built already, but you're going to expect to start to see these. We've been talking about development at the Den forever, Harry, and it's actually going to be it's 2017 when we had the so-called Battle of the Den. So this is now 7 years on, and still there's no sign of anything going on around there.
There's other things there as well, like the training ground fucking scenario.
Well, that's been a bit of a debacle, isn't it? I mean, that don't seem to be going anywhere now. The Swanley Brands Hatch, development that seems to be.
And they own the land. I mean, I'm not going to be funny, Millwall. If you're not thinking of using it, perhaps you should build flats. Build the flats, and you'll make your 19.1 million pound back that way. Trust me. Don't give it to a contractor. You build the flats, pay people to build the flats, and keep it. The
Brands Hatch site will be Greenbelt. I'm sure you'd have to work with was it Sevenoaks Council out that way, I think, but I'm not sure. I don't know what.
You're not seeing the Labour manifesto. There's no such thing as the Greenbelt anymore. Politics, ladies and gentlemen. Bit of politics.
But yeah, a bit of politics. Yeah, you're right. You do want. I mean, that land that we own, I don't know what the long-term plan is at Calmont Road, whether that's going to be revamped, and that's going to require money.
It needs. You either need to go one or the other. Calmont is fucking very old-fashioned and needs.
It looks like a school playing field over there, Harry. Every time I've been past it, it's all right. But if you're playing school football, it's fine. But
I mean, I compare it to. I don't want to compare it to them cunts down the road, but I've been to Sparrows down at Cheltenham a couple of times, and
it's a decent place, I think, apparently.
The vast size and the facilities they've got for not just their first team, but you look at all their subsidiaries, like, not being funny or anything, it was the Community Trust Day, and God love them yesterday, but we are like the small ragamuffins, with the amount of money we've got available to do stuff like that, and everyone there are lovely people, and they were, don't get me wrong, and I don't mean to take the piss. What I'm saying is because the facilities they're 35 years old. Do you know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah, showing its age. The ground is showing its age. Actually, I was looking at some rust on the roof yesterday. I thought bits of it are looking like they're bending in the daytime heat and so on. And contraction and so on. So the ground is starting to show its age a little bit.
I kind of like that though. I've always liked it being slightly. I
don't mind it.
All pride in the fact that it's slowly going to turn back into the old den.
By the
time it might look shit, proper shit. So it'll be fine. I'll be able to tell my grandkids that we can turn around and go fucking. Yeah, your great granddad used to tell me how shit this was. Yeah, great.
Great stuff. I want to mention Liam Roberts before we close. We've touched on him already. I was really struck. There was a Phil Clark put on. Line listeners, the findings of the so-called independent FA panel. Laugh here at this point. You can laugh. The so-called independent panel. I was reminded, Harry, for all the world of representing my members when I was a union rep, and they used to say to them before we went into any kind of panel or tribunal, or whatever you want to call it. Don't ever forget that the employer creates the rules. They are the opponents, and they are the referee. So please don't come in expecting a fair fight or any kind of justice here. We did our best. But I was really struck by reading Liam Roberts' account. It's all online. Lots of it is redacted, so blacked out, listeners. But I was really struck by the snidiness of the Crystal Palace case, which seems to have been adopted lock, stock and barrel by the panel. Hence the doubling of Liam's.
I would say Millwall's defence does seem very, very student council president's defence against the.
I would say it was I'm trying to be diplomatic. I don't know who did it or who advised Liam, but I think I might have done a better job as the Unite the Union rep for when I used to work in social housing. Listeners, I don't know if he had any proper legal advice, but they've led off with He's apologised, which is standard. You can't exactly do anything but apologise and accept the red. That's a given. But as mitigation, Harry, they've offered up the Sadio Mane in 2017, a famous incident with a high kick, which got a red but didn't get any doubling. And our own Charlie Cresswell. I can't believe there aren't others. But anyway, those are the two cases.
No. And the best thing was Nick, that they used still images.
They use still photos, and you've got to know that when you go into the room, the people on the other side of the desk, listeners, are looking for every route they can possibly find to get out and not give you what you want. That's all they're there for. So you have to lay it out chapter and verse and show them and point them at the YouTube link. Here it is. You've got to look at it. There it is. If you give them any route not to look at it, they'll take it. And they say in their report, we were shown stills, Harry, but the club didn't submit any video evidence. Well, that's because you've got to fucking show it to them, and you've got to make sure that you point them to the video, and then you point them to their own need to be fair and consistent, and you link the two together. I'm getting excited now. I'm getting annoyed, but no, I don't think it was well served, Harry.
I've used the Kuna.
Let's not say cunt in.
No. Kuna. I'd also have used. I would have used cunt when they give.
Try to avoid that. It was another advice. I used to get.
Achtungmillwall legal advice. Try to avoid using the word cunt when dealing
avoid
with
any use of the word cunt.
I would have used the Kuna incident from the same day where he ended up punching and kicking people and gone, well, hang on a minute, violent conduct. What you're saying this is worse than violent conduct.
Because there have been many others, and you've got to do a little bit of work. You've got to put some effort in. But it's
like an hour. I'd have had like an hour of footage, a good hour. I'd have made them sit there for an hour and watch video after video.
Give it to them.
I'd have with fucking boredom. I'd have just out of just pure spite. We've got the room for 4 hours. Let's fucking use it.
And against each case that you cite, you refer them back to the appropriate clause in their terms of reference, because it's laid out. They've got to be consistent. They're aiming for a consistent approach, and all of this. I'm just reading it, and I could well be wrong, and I don't mean to be disparaging towards anyone, because I don't know who represented Liam. It should have been the PFA, which is his trade union, but it was very naively done, in my opinion. And he's got a 6-game, but more than that, his name has been tarnished now, Harry. And the way the Crystal Palace case is set out, and this is another thing, they've clearly set out to tarnish his name as a thug, basically.
Yes.
I'm reading directly from it here, Harry. This is one of their paragraph A on the Crystal Palace letter to the panel. Liam Roberts left his box and propelled himself and his boots at the head of Jean Mateta, striking his head viciously with a high boot. Further down, he says Liam proceeded with the most extreme and violent force he could possibly have mustered. There's bits in the rest of it where they all accept they didn't do it on purpose, but that bit's included and that's taken into account. It's wrong. It shouldn't have been done that way. But
and to play, I agree with that totally. I also think that Chris Sutton is a cunt, and so is Jason Cundy.
Well, they refer to media personalities, and those are the media personalities almost certainly referring to.
So that's my opinion. Hence why I've said I think they are for libel lawyers out there. For again, their statements are. If I'm Liam Roberts, I'm pursuing them two for fucking libel, without a question of that. Just out of fucking pure spite. What they did, but I get the feeling that from looking at that Millwall just wanted it to go away, Nick. I kind of get.
I think you're right.
Weren't even fucking the time, the hassle, or whatever. We're going to have fucking. We're just going to draw this out all day, and Liam wants it to go away, and we want it to go away, and we're not going to get a fair hearing anyway. We've had a trial by media, and they've already made their mind up. So why?
You'll never get a fair hearing. And the game is rigged against you. Everyone should enter any of these situations, just on a wider level, listeners. You don't go into the room thinking you've got a fair situation or any kind of justice. What you have to do, therefore, is use their rules and their terms of reference back at them. You have to show them. So I'm just looking at the relevant paragraph. The Commission, this is how they've worded it, Harry. The Commission were not furnished with any video footage of the 2 incidents from the last 7 or 8 years mentioned. to make, therefore unable to make any worthwhile comparisons. They were looking for a route out, and we gave it to them, and I think that's disappointing in my opinion.
Yes, absolutely. And I also think that if you generally think the FA, who, you know, with the greatest deal of respect, I speak to the FA as someone that goes on their courses, as someone that has done their if anyone has done, there'll be Millwall fans amongst us that have got badges and fucking whatever. These cunts love a pound note. You have to get anything out the FA. You know, to put this into, I play in the fucking Southern Amateur League, the fucking lowest division of the Southern Amateur League, and we haven't played for 8 weeks. But it's all right because these cunts are sitting debating in Parliament about how much money the Premier League needs to donate to grassroots football and so on and so forth. Some facilities we turn up to don't have defibs, but it's all right because it doesn't matter. The FA are the people that are supposed to be the custodians of the game, fair and equal play that we all love. They signed it over in 1992, and they're like a spoiled old fucking fuddy-duddy conservative drinking room that any time they can get together and have a fucking knees up and fucking dish out over-the-top punishments for moral outrage, they fucking will. And we always will be the person that falls upon. And if you don't think that's true, just look at it there. It's in fucking black.
Just read it. Well said, Harry.
Like it was. The thing is, as well, is with the greatest deal of respect, it's not even the fans for once. Like you know what? You know how we like normally go like the lizard people of the world, and there's a great conspiracy about Millwall, right?
Yeah.
I don't even think it's a conspiracy anymore, Nick. It's now a given to me because before it'd be like, oh, fucking, we've gone and done something. We've had Everton. We've had fucking, you know.
Someone sang a silly song, like, yeah.
Loads of shit stuff's gone on. Wembley fighting each other, the copper, loads.
Yeah.
Right? And it all gets put over the front page. But normally that's us, right? This time, a player's had an incident on the pitch that could happen at any club, any level of football. It's a collision between two football players. They happen. It's a contact sport. There's no more banishing it than that. Yes, it's very sad that Mateta nearly lost the fucking ear or whatever the fuck they want to say. You know, clutching a Victorian lady's pearls and handkerchiefs, right? But he didn't. He's fine, right? And that's it. But the minute that it was Millwall, it was like ball baiting. It was literally like the Romans had turned up and had thrown the Christians to the lions, and we were the Christians in this thing, not the lions. You know, it's very ridiculous. It's very FA. It's very Millwall as well, to be honest. And you know, what would make me more happy than anything, before I die, Nick, I want to see us in their fucking precious Premier League. Because I want to cause moral outrage every fucking lunchtime.
I think we're guaranteed that if we ever get there, Harry.
I mean, mate, honestly, I cannot kid you not. The amount of fucking, like, even now when you walk in the ground, it's like, oh, you're not allowed to, you know, fucking tragedy chanting. It's an FA thing and whatever, and let him die as if that's never been sung at football. I've been going since I was 7. I must have heard that, I don't know, 1,000 times, 2,000 times. I can't possibly comment on how many times I hear it, but I hear it every game. But it's tongue in cheek. As the word nuance gone out of like any kind of sensibility in 2025? I don't understand. If anyone actually, you know, are these the kind of people that walk amongst us? This is what really worries me. These people are amongst us, everyone. These people get to vote. They get to, you know, go to the shop. Right. These are the people that do these things.
I've set Harry off, listeners. I've set him off. He's having a good calm day. He's done his running. He was chilled. Harry.
Now I've got to go into a darkened room and calm down.
Calm down, mate. Calm down. Great to talk to you, H. Thanks for coming on the show, mate. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Come on, you Lions. Get in the fucking playoffs and scare the FA into more meetings.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.